What is up, guys? It's your boy No Risk and No Premium back with another episode of the market overview, guys. Today we finally went up. Now we didn't quite get up to that 44, 20 to 44.30 area, but we did get up there pretty close. Finally seeing a reject. A lot of indices seeing some engulfing candles, some bearish trend down days after Powell. Lots of reason for us to pull back, especially after going up higher. So let's see, where do we end up tomorrow? I don't know. One thing we do know for sure is we got to look at the economic data. Okay. We have to look at the economic data. Here we go. For tomorrow, no pre-market data, but we do have a ton of 10 a.m. data. We know it's a typical, University of Michigan data, consumer sentiment data, all that kind of stuff. So 10 a.m. definitely going to see a pop drop, liquidity grab, wiki, whatever you want to call it. More than likely going to be expecting that. That comes in 30 minutes after the market opens. No pre-market data to worry about. It's always fairly nice. Now, on to the ES chart, we're going to see what happens in this little bit of a range here, right? This range that we've been developing, I think 43.50 is going to be that area that could possibly be the bottom of the range. If you could see, it would be a test back into the AEMA after we have successfully had a crossover back up to the upside, right? So let's see what happens. We can see we're also pretty much closed today on the 50-day moving averages. This is purple dotted line here as well, right? So let's see if we're going to get a pullback further. It's going to be underneath 4,300, so 43.50. So we're going to play around 43.50 for the overnight action, as well as the opening range tomorrow, the initial balance that first hour. Let's watch this 43.50 underneath opens up 42.90 to 4,300. Look for a bounce in that zone there. Okay, if this holds, we can see a trip back to about 4,400, maybe even as high as about 44.12, which was today's high in there. That's the ES chart. Those are the two levels. So we watch for 43.50 will be that main level to watch overnight and into tomorrow morning. Let's get rid of this line here, and we can actually see that we got the SPY chart here, right? SPY chart. Look where we're closing, right at the 50-day moving average here. We do see that we had some decreasing volume on this move back higher, and then an actual sell volume. So we could easily see more downside. We closed right at the gap here, 433. This 433 will be kind of like the 43.50 on ES. We're going to play that zone in here. Watch for that area to hold. If it doesn't, 431, I would definitely be looking for the bounce in that zone at 431, but we could easily see, we can easily see 433 hold overnight because we do know that gap is there. 50-day moving average, 432.91, call it 433. So let's see, right? Let's see, 433, does that hold? If we open up underneath it, look for buys back, or look for rejects back into 433 or today's low, the gap fill. Okay, if we open above it, look for dips to hold into it as well. We did close this gap here. Okay, we did close the gap here on the daily chart, which is great to see. I'm going to leave that little really lightish line in there because we'll see that 438.50 is still going to be a level to the upside. I like 433, 431, 425 as bounce zones to the downside. If underneath, though, 431 easily can come down another few points to the downside. Huge short trade setting up underneath that gap fill in there as well. Onto the QQQ chart. Keeping it on the daily here because I like how the daily chart is been set up. As you can see, this downtrend line that we have had, right? Is this just a breakout and then a retest of it? It's very possible. Okay, you could see 370. It's going to be all about 370 in this trend line right here, right? We either hold it overnight, okay, and we buy the dip into it, right? So we hold it overnight, we buy the dip into it, we gap down, okay, and we take the reject into it, still have a gap all the way down here at 364 that we're going to be looking to fill as well. That's right here with confluence at the 250-day moving average. This is a purple dotted line we can see here on the daily. Be looking for a bounce in this, either above this gap or at this gap, just depending the price action tomorrow. So all about 370 tomorrow, 370, 370, 370. Open above, look for dips into it, gap down, look for the reject, right? Look for the breakdown and retest, reject, take the short trade. Multiple points lower. Guys, last but not least, IWM. Really heavy here. Not a really good thing to see if you want the indices to rally like SPY and QQQ. I think you're going to need IWM to join the party. Is this just a break out and then retest of this 167.50, which we had a double top here? These two candles, it's very possible. Do we go get the gap fill down? I'd look to long 165.50 to finish the gap fill to the downside. Look to long that level in there. Okay, if we can reclaim 170 to the upside, opens up 176, but I'd be looking for a gap fill bounce in this zone in here. If we open above 167.50, you can look for the dips into it underneath, look for the gap fill and then or look for the reject and then gap fill to the downside 165.50. Guys, that is all I got for you. Don't forget, Veterans Day, we are observing it with banks tomorrow. Okay. I think it's actually on Saturday. We have no data in the pre-market. We have 30 minutes data, 30 minutes into the markets. And guys, you got to wake up early, get your levels right, and of course, not do anything fucking stupid. See you bright and early. Peace.